Welcome, everyone. Janice Deloy with OHUG here with Pramod from Datavail, and we're going to be talking about navigating Oracle HCM Cloud integrations. And with that, and let me ask you to please hold your questions to the end, and then Pramod will be addressing as many questions as possible at that time. So go ahead, Pramod, and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Thank you very much for your time to going over the webinar. I will be able to address most of your questions and most of your concerns or challenges or opportunities you're looking at in your current engagements or implementations or your current journeys and your current organizations. Today we're going to touch upon one of the many topics, but one of the most critical topics we are actually focusing on working with our customers is to touch area on how we target our short-term and long-term challenges as we migrate our current HCM platforms into the cloud and beyond, how we're going to organize, maximize, and standardize the processes so that we can scale for a lot of improvement opportunities. I'm just going to touch upon that, but I think before we go further, I just wanted to take an opportunity of your time to fill in your feedback that will help us to cater these webinars the way we want to look at to reach the audience with some thoughtful leadership. And also your input is very valuable for us to make high quality presentations in the future. Being said that, again, we have a campaign going on with the marketing team. I just want to be the lucky one of you could be a lucky one to get a beer for the year, and with your feedback, thank you. And basically, being said that, my name is Pramod Alluri. I've been doing this for some time. I think it's like it was yesterday, 30 years ago, when I started the journey. Like every one of us, of you on the call, gone through various generations of ERP transformations and stuff, and now we are reaching to a point with a scale and speed we have not seen before. That's the challenge we all want to solve, and also gain a lot of exposure, and also an opportunity for us to do some of the things we always envisioned to all along we've been envisioning. But with the tools and techniques we have, we're going to give us a lot. So being said that, I have been there, spend a lot of time on the ground working with the product companies as well as customers, the business, and all kinds of stuff, put together a recipe for them to be successful. So we are all, our whole ecosystem is successful as well. With my expertise, I can bring down to whoever in need. I'll be there and helping them to be providing us. And we as a Datavail have been there, leveraging all our expertise to provide valued services to our customers. Being said that, I just want to touch upon the four areas. I just want to see what we are hearing and what you all are hearing versus what was the executive vision, what the leadership and boards of the organizations have been envisioning. Where will be the next mile marker for us for integrations, and how do we maximize our talent and also minimize our day-to-day situations with optimizing, and also how do we get ready for hyper automation. And also I'm going to touch upon one of the case studies we recently had, which is very, very important one to can correlate and relevant to this topic. Again, being said that, as we all know that we have been there over years of time, we have built a lot of applications to cater to our business needs, or over a period of time, this became on-prem, and fast back 30 years after from the last 30 years, whatever we built now, suddenly we are looking at a new era about modernizing all these applications and making sure. But even after that, there are some purpose-built applications for certain industries. We still have to live with them because those are not basically taken away or replaced by a modern application, but still works as a core process which needs for organizations to be successful. And as we all know, that there's a lot of organizations made a journey, whether it is a multi-cloud journey or any journey, that more than a lot of these customers have already made their investments in it and already have their presence felt. But still, there are still lagging behind on certain modernization techniques. And also, despite all the stuff, if we still have some 40+% legacy applications is still there, because those are the ones which are not even solved or tackled by the product companies yet, because of the niche market and the green field and the opportunities are, we need to look at it. So we still have this. Being said that, what does the executive vision look at? We need to identify the why we are here with so much of aspects of it, and what is needed and how we can achieve that sustainability and longevity in our situation. But some places we cannot replace, but some places we can. Again, as I said, we as the vision of the organizations has been try to innovate, integrate, and also maximize and build a lot of business with it, with the technology as one of the drivers. Sometimes technology is as a supporting thing with the data and others, but how do we have the insights driven to us and also have a connected innovation which drives the company to the next level? This is the vision which has been there, but it's become much more tools. We have tools agnostic and much more information ability now to digest to get us through that. But again, being said that, the first thing we say when we hear about this, okay, we need to take all this application, all the leaderships and everything has bought into this platform as analogy. As a platform is the where you can scale and have a limitless potential for process improvement opportunities, because as the platforms are evolving, we are getting that features and functions versus when we were with the legacy and on-prem, where we used to have a cycle to get those. Now it's not every 3 months. By the time we realize we take a break, we will end up having to. The good news about having a lot of features in the bag, but also the other side. But this is only a half glass full in the various industry. We took some of those industry knowledge and put together like this. What happens to the other half? The other half is what makes the whole pie. Is there a lot of industries where there are specific industry applications which are very niche, which are very specific. But when we take a platform approach as a product manager or strategy guy, and someone like Oracle or someone like big companies, what they look at is, how do I make the platform, which is 70% basically standardized across any industry, but 30% is always the flavor. But some places, maybe the 70% is 60%, but 40% is still there because of the need of the hour. If you look at this wheel, I just put 6 of them at the high level, but there are many of them are there, but all of them, what the modern strategists and technologists and evangelists are trying to do is to make processize. Process is being a thing versus, hey, we work in hospitality, our processes are different. Still, it's a process. So how do we get there? So this is one of the big challenge for most of us on the call today, trying to understand and say, how do we do? If we were to do the same thing again, few years from now, what will be the one we need to get compromise on? What is today's, because with the advent of AI and others, a lot of things will be changing. But this is the vision we have to deliver. That's what everybody's asking. But the question is how. If you start looking at it, there are some viewpoints we have gathered. Basically, everybody says, why is it so difficult to fully adapt, to integrate in each and every? There are 4 different areas depending on which area of this executive leadership we touch upon. They have their own a viewpoint, and also as a problem solvers or as a strategist or evangelist, we need to look for a thing. It's true. How do we get that value for money and also deliver the value? Because it's tough, because what we have today, the obsolescence of that tool and technique could be fast coming. We have to be cognizant enough, and so that we don't have to redo, reset, and restart all the time. But these are some of the areas we have looked at it and identified as 4 pockets. But the main part is the one in the data. Data is always what drives the organization now. That is also drawing a lot more of our innovation abilities and capabilities to help people to look at it, saying, how do I cater the information on time so we can make the decision on time, so we can avoid any kind of opportunities in the back door. Back in the day, it used to take months. Now it takes minutes. Basically, that tells us that computing speed, and also we have to sniff through a lot of data, which is like zettabytes or petabytes of data in an organization, which is unforeseen in the past, especially if an organization of that magnitude, we used to take our time to make decisions. And the next aspect of it is um, everybody wants real-time data. Why it is so hard? But we have to look at this way that you got plethora of thousands of applications generating data. Thanks to the iPhone, it added actually much more from a velocity and variety and veracity of the data. And then eventually you start bringing them to categorize them by lines of business as well as the operational data. And then eventually you have to come down to how we're going to be the data consistency, confidence, and also we can make decisions on and also identify anomalies and do the root causing and come up with potential challenges around. These are some of the challenges why it is so difficult. But if you look at all these high velocity, high speed organizations where the information flows, they have made some good strategy about how data is consumed and how the data is being disseminated and provided decision-making stuff. But on the other side, how do we make compliance about all the information decision done that we don't have to look back and look at it? Again, this is basically getting us to a point. And again, being said that, again, what does this integration mean? Integration is not about between organization to organization, but it's also handoff processes from a HR perspective. It starts from the front where you do the talent that actually gives the resources to the organization, and then once you have the resources, then you buy and sell to identify your opportunity to make money to there. So this is how it covers end to end. When they say this is also kind of an integration, departmental integration versus information ability with the resource as a kind of system of record. And eventually you have to understand from a headcount planning lately, post-COVID, this headcount planning has become much more challenging for organizations to see that how much is too much, how do we plan ahead rather than work around catch up later kind of situations. Again, this is how I see an enterprise being connected. It's been there on-prem, but we built band-aids, we built some the technology integrations with what we had limited resources. Now with the open standards and the platform scalability, we have a lot more opportunity to be elastic, flexible, and trying it by doing. Sometimes it's not always perfect. Build the journey in a way that you don't have to go back and look where was the compromise done versus what was the opportunities to retrofit and continue the journey. Again, this is how organizations are looking at from a leadership and business standpoint. Ultimately, we as a technologist, we as a decision makers, we as an evangelists are providing a business solution to business community to be sustainable and scalable. Then it brings up to the question of these are all good. What does that mean for us? What is integration and what is automation? If you look at, there's a lot of words and being told in the everywhere, depending on which branch of the technology or which branch of the layer of the solution you look at it, they have the term called automation or integration or efficiency or solution. Whichever you call it as, it's all about unmanned, non-manual process, information to system speak, basically exchanging with common standards. All these things are a part of it. And when organizations like Gartner spoke to 80,000 plus CEOs and CIOs, and they started coining terms called platform as a service. Again, what is a platform as a service? It's a bunch of tools and techniques and integration methods standardized across where people will follow and certify themselves so that we provide all abilities and stuff. That was a step one. And the step two was how do we make it more unmanned, more hyper automated? Hyper automation is the new terminology. We are hearing a new term we hear, but it's about information, system to system exchange, and also drives the insights and stuff. Either we are carrying that out insights to a line of business or IT, or versus if it's a financial services, how important is we know the aspects of express spend versus actually the realization. If it is hospitality, we know what the usage of it, metrics wise, we do plan against it. So while we look at this, the terminologies are coming as, and we are also going to the next step. There are a lot of these things what we need to look for. Basically, We are living with all on-prem applications either built by few folks for the right purpose to solve the problem at that time, but over years it's been working. Then if it's not broken, why fix? But as we are dating with the technology and standard, the new security data and challenges about moving mountains of data across, it's costing us a lot more technical debt around the integrations that the people are trying to do. How do we strategize this? These are the areas, and how do we align ourselves to be more modern, and also how do we adapt to now lately in the last 2 years we have been seeing about a lot of AI everywhere. It's been there, but the only thing is the cost of using AI as a tool to analyze is coming up, and also provide as a decision making is coming up much cheaper, much more affordable. And eventually, how do we be cloud native so that while we are away, we are making a lot of value for it for the organization, and also we don't have to wake up at 2 a.m. to solve a challenge when because my integration didn't work, so I was not able to process invoicing, or I was not able to send checks to the payment or something like that, or I forgot to run a pay the payroll job. Basically, it goes to put the ADP in place. So again, these are all some of the things we're having, and apart from that AI, we also learning the mistakes, learning from the data anomalies, learning from the building a pattern, which is kind of a technology as a resource stuff. These are all some of the things we already have, what we're looking for, and how do we go to the next level. Being said that, how do I get there? What could be the vision? So we are back in the day, Big Bang was the mantra. Now it's basically if you do Big Bang, the disruption is your challenge. So as a result, while working through this process, we have to come up with a strategy, we have to come up with an execution plan, and also kind of a repetitive model in a way that it is its innovation is constantly improving, and it's infinite possibilities of improvement. But as we start looking at it, we have to start getting into a place where we can buy ourselves some infrastructure sustainability, and then start looking at our technical debt, and eventually identifying the opportunities for least minimum viable experience and maximum output from it, so that we don't have to look back and save us from the hours we spend to fix the issues. That's where this next part, and then eventually go up to the user experience standpoint, where how do we get decentralized instead of having it's been IT driven by the business driven, especially all this mobility app, responsive thing, low code, no code. All these tools are about democratizing the data in a secured fashion to be delivered, whether your internal customers or your external partners, or to the cloud with the compliance and all the security guidelines in place, because that is how, in order, if I don't um, basically put in the first two steps of it, the third step would be building an application without having a sustainability will come up with a nightmare for us to manage the data movements and stuff. Begin, and then from this standpoint, if we go level down, we just have to look at the modernization ability, because most of the time you refer here is Oracle infrastructure, but this could apply to any kind of providers, but I'm more concentrated on the ecosystem what Oracle has provided, because it's more native to the platform, the HCM platform we have looked at it. So that, but this could be applied. The same blueprint can be applied in various other cloud providers, but depending on what it is. But with Oracle's investment while we are away, or while we are taking a break, they are investing so much that they're giving us a lot more tools and techniques for us to be to start thinking about how to use it, how to build the pipelines, how do you build the journeys, how do you build your sustainability and scalability, because that is how they're listening from us. They're also working with industries, and they're also from the ground reality from since the first version of EBS, PeopleSoft and JD Edwards, all the acquisitions they did last 15 years, they learned trick from every of them and putting together for us as a package to deliver. Why don't we leverage that? And also the analytics, what they're building as is constantly improving the KPIs with participation across. Their goal is to build world's best platform to operate on by all customers. It's not specific to an industry, but that platform itself is actually, if you map them, get up to 70% best practices built with it, which again, one of the challenges we had back in the day when we go and start moving. You don't necessarily have to move everything to SaaS yet, but they're giving us the opportunities to scale up. And ultimately, we all have to be operating with the AI platform, but they're also being ahead of the curve. They are using it internally versus others. But again, when we talk about the employee experience or user experience in HCM, these are all constant. The way we prospect, way we recruit, way we communicate with our internal and external, all these things are coming around that automation, communication. We are reaching a social era for HCM aspects much faster than other pieces of the business. But these are some of the things we already have to look at it from a modernization perspective. If you don't have a plan, but have to have this on a radar for long term, because we're going to get there faster than ever before. So that's one of the things. Then when we look at this overview and say, when we go one level down, these are the things we need to start looking at. What do I have to build my own integration, or do I have to look at what already have, kind of inspired from it and modernize it from your perspective, so you don't have to worry about the skill deficit or a challenge around it, and also what use case I'm trying to target. Basically, from an HCM perspective, there are many. Digital assistant is becoming very prevalent everywhere. Communicate is everywhere. From a data information security and stuff, all the scenarios coming. Social channels are everywhere. But again, the biggest area is recruiting. How do you target the talent and make sure acquire them and retain them and basically have them a part of your organization to use a big thing. So this again, from where we are, what we have looked at it and looked at the high level, and then we come down to here, it gives you the core abilities, because these are the standard abilities and also the flexibility where you can have, you don't not necessarily all eggs in one basket. You can have a multi-cloud for sustainability and DR, and also look at multi-application. As long as the application is able to subscribe and work with us, we can start building that bridge using integrations and stuff. And eventually, all these areas are very important for us to acquire the data, make decisions driven by the data. Then eventually, if you go to the next, okay, these are the ecosystems what Oracle is already working and providing, talking to the customer. The biggest area I see a lot of explosion happen is the productivity and social channels, because post-COVID, all this, the laundry list has gone up. And I think this is good for organization where we don't really have to worry about what do I do with the productivity tools I have when I move from an on-prem to cloud. You just have to readjust, you have to work through. And eventually, what do I have to go all in? Do I have to do some robotic process automation? All these things are available, because that problem of that initial decision aspects of the adapters are available. Why can't we leverage? And also now when we talk about integration, a lot of integration platforms are agnostic about the data. Oracle integration layer, whatever the platform we call it as, is also not behind. They're providing you all access. In case of databases, you have some purpose-built databases on a DB2 or a SQL Server or any other database. It can connect with it and provide the data for you. And also messaging is also key about it. So the strategies have to be saying that now, having all these tools, how can we start innovating us from what we have done with the limited potential or abilities in the past? When you modernize, we have to start thinking with open mindset and eventually start leveraging some of these tools, techniques, and modern things, because these days kids, the talent is being innovating like there's no tomorrow. And eventually, how do we get there? Then eventually, when Oracle has multiple generations of scalability and integration strategy, the first one was basically it is going for the foundation to the Oracle Intelligence Platform. So it's a generation one, we call it, and that is how they built the platform with. Then eventually, as you progress, they went to the Gen 2, they added this in the kind of what is needed to that specialty, or whether it's B2B or whether it is, the RPA aspects of adapters. And now lately, the generation 3 has added even more the AI abilities, and it's going to continue. It's not going to stop. That is the advantage of what we are trying to look for, the infinite possibilities. But depending on where we are in our journey, how are we plotting our integration journey? How do we going to provide a solution to our business leaders to what we are doing with onboarding, whether it's a merger and acquisition, or whether you're building a new division or spinning off a company. All these things are possible, but one thing we have to rest assured is we are modernizing our integrations with a goal to have a better process control and have a responsive automation. I think we look at that way. We are right now is in the middle of a lot of things happening, but from what we have seen to what we are today, we have to make sure how do we leverage, optimize, and maximize the opportunity, because this is the foundation. If you look at it, it's a foundation for a big organizational ability with Oracle's platforms, especially is basically the good news. Why Oracle? Why not others? Oracle has been an an application provider, then a business application provider, plus a platform. With their good acquisitions, they learned more from while servicing millions of customers, business users, and eventually led through their own internal innovation to come up, provide a better product. And now with the recent acquisitions happening in healthcare and all other modern stack they have, they're giving us more adapters for all industry specific. They're not putting themselves in saying that we are only a specific ERP. They are actually agnostic. That's the reason why a lot of customers right now are looking at Oracle HCM platform with all the abilities built with it, are becoming a target choice for the customer going through this through the journey. And if you look at this way, there are a lot of scenarios will fall in play. What are the scenarios we have to look at as a part of the journey? Because we have to look at saying, are we doing a hybrid? Are we doing all in? Are we doing a multi-cloud? All these things are scenarios we all go through. And with the process automation and with the AI coming in, how should I build my journey along with it? And also it's a full stack opportunity you have to build a complete end-to-end solution, and also could be used as a pipeline for your modern data platform. Again, these are some of the scenarios. It can be more, but we just summarized into the 9. But I think there would be many more depending on your use case and other scenario. And then eventually, I will have to look at one example is how does we build a blueprint, right? We build a blueprint, and one example of this is how do we use hybrid scenario? How do we get through between an on-prem system to SaaS and other clouds? Again, this could be any application you have. I'm not specially just an example I'm showing you, but these are all some of the things we are going through. Before I go to the case study, I'm going to take a pause. I see Steve Taylor has raised the hand. Do you have? I'll see the Steve. Do you have a question?
Steve, you could put your question in the chat if you have one. All right, I don't think there's a question there. Thank you.
No issues. Okay. Thank you. So I would continue, because these are all the foundation I laid and went through the journey and kind of patterns, what scenarios we need to look for. I'm going to take an example about which is more relevant in the HCM. A customer of ours have recently migrated, I would call it as a transform from the legacy. They moved into OCI first as an infrastructure as a service, and later retired PeopleSoft went into cloud HCM platform. Being said that, I'm going to take one example, and I'm going to take one example here. What they have done. 1 second. Yeah, because when we moved around that, they had many applications. One such application is basically the badge request. That there are like 8,000 people, and a new employee onboarding happens, or if somebody loses a badge, they need to get through. So we moved the PeopleSoft application, but it was connected to a third party, basically a badge application where they have to provide a security ID for the employees. But when you start looking at it, we were using Oracle HCM has called Journeys. through the journey, we are able to put a workflow in it through, again, every journey has got the step. Step is nothing but an integration point where you can consume internal integration points versus external integration points, also feedback. It's almost like a workflow in a way, step by step. In that journey, we were able to push the data basically and send it over to the third-party application to generate the badge, and then confirm when the batch is ready to either send the notification to the employee or to the facilities to have the employee come and pick up. But this is basically a process automation we did, basically so that the business who were not involved as a part of the transformation to the cloud were able to identify these challenges and eventually were able to do the operationally. They don't have, for them it's no change technically. From technology perspective, it's a change for the HR team, HRIS team, but not for the person in the security department or who's issuing the badges to the employee IDs and stuff. It's not a change for them, but we have to make sure that it was built in an old SQL Server system. But the reality, as I shown you earlier, what Oracle platform was, we were using Oracle Integration Cloud plus the process automation in combination with journeys within HCM to available to do this. This is just one of the many we did, but this was one of the critical applications without having a badge. The person cannot do a punch in, punch out to biometric, and that application is going to continue the journey for long term because we did not have a native, because we don't want to build a new one to start with because it's going to cost us some disruption stuff. So for stage one, we are able to do that. Now we are modernizing with, because we still have a lot of industries and organizations that still need a badge because that is how they operate, and they go from there. Again, this is one example. We did that. Again, this could be the many opportunities. And then I'm going to add a few more flavors to it. Again, we had one of our customer stories where we went with our customer, same customer. We were able to do a lot more abilities in each of these areas to complement and implement, because it was in PeopleSoft. These are all customizations they built inside out because they've been using this 20 plus years. But when it comes to platform, we took some off. It was very tough to take the customization away and made it standard best practice, but we have to build on top of it this notification and journey classification kinds of scenarios. We have to go through it. As a result, we have built so much of areas of expertise in building some, because Oracle process automation is nothing but basically the end-to-end automation you can build, like a BPMN models if you're an architect, or like a workflow for the people who have built technical side of story, and so that it can do self-service from a mobile application request to go through a workflow, which is again kind of an automation, and eventually which automation comes with, again, the background is integration and identity management, all kinds of stuff, so that we can go through and approvals and things get delivered. One such example was it used to take 3 to 4 days for an employee to get a letter. When we onboarded all the 7,000 employees onto the mobile platform, it takes 2 minutes because of the things they have to go through and approvals. Sometimes it's less than 2 minutes, and everybody was excited because that's the power of automation behind, and the technology team took advantage of it and did the right move and made the right decisions and eventually made sure they maximize the opportunity. And that's just the beginning for them. It's the tip of the iceberg, because now they're looking at that advantage of the time savings and kinds of stuff and abilities. They constantly look out for new features and new areas of it. And I think that is how we want, basically, for working consultatively, thought leadership, saying that we have done customization in the past. Can I integrate using a low code and more modern way of looking at it, versus information mapping is already there. It is available in full. The only thing we had challenges we ran into was the bulk. When you want to do a bulk movement, there are some limitations in the cloud, but that's manageable and can be done by a different technique, not just the way we used to do in the past. Again, this can apply to any kind of bespoke requirements you have. We can make it and go from there. And then this all looks good. This is the case study. This is the success we had built through the journeys. Again, That's how the platforms are built. And then comes down to the question is based on what you are today, where you are today. I would say where you're based upon your journey. Oracle actually publishes on a periodic basis about, especially in the HCM space. I want to come down to that space because this is targeted to the audience where you are. But this is not only applicable to them. This could be anybody. But these use cases are pre-built. Oracle is building for it based on their internal research and based on the customer feedback, based on the stuff which I would say since the evolution of Oracle into the ERP market, this is the first time I've seen Oracle is kind of working very closely with social innovation rather than being what they know, what they have seen, because that really helps us from enablers or implementers or innovators or the architects and strategists and evangelists looking at saying that why reinvent the wheel when you have a framework? Why don't we start from there? Because I don't want to start from scratch. If there are some instances Oracle has, we call them from start, but eventually scratch, but Oracle came back and said, why are you starting? We have this coming up in the journey. But looking at this, these are some of the use cases we have leveraged. Some of them are related to the internal processes they never had in PeopleSoft. Then now basically when we go to cloud, this could apply to any HCM system, not just PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft was kind of got a lot name in that space in the past, but now you can move any platform into the Oracle, but suddenly all of a sudden you become a gold standard, especially with best practices. And looking at this is not just enough, right? They give us a recipe of just an example of a uniform request when an employee comes in. If you're in hospitality or retail or a brand focused areas, you always have the big request coming through as you onboard the people. But eventually because of the branding in place. But in reality wise is we all know that we have built an application to pass the information from the system of record to some notification or email or some ordering system to our vendor or to our stock room to kind of take the details and prepare the uniform for us to disperse. That's just an example, but it can apply to any other aspects of your business to realize, because what we have felt over the last 15 years was basically is we're going to have to live with some of the applications which are natively true to the business. Those are not changing, but there are some applications which are getting standardized, that they're getting more inducted into the platform, which means you have to do with one less thing to worry about. Once we identify your use case, you like it, and you have a strategy in place with the pre-built recipes, or use recipes as an inspiration to come with your own patterns, because we have to understand there's a lot of research going on why these patterns are putting in place. We have to constantly innovate and basically execute and lead. If you take an approach today, it might change 6 to 8 months from now. Please take into mind that time you're invested is very important. It's not a throwaway, but we always have this garbage in, garbage out. But eventually, your time is more valuable. And this kind of webinars gives us a lot more thought process to talk through and discuss more around learn. Sharing is by caring, but learning it from our own experiences is important, because today we are more connected than ever before. And being said that, once I have picked one of these and have my own strategy in place on a drawing board and come up with it, is what's next, then we need to have this. This is some of the things we identify. Called we have to discuss around this whole, how do you map this use case mean, what do I need to build? Kind of look at this horizontally and vertically and align with how do you classify? How do we come up with it? Because these days, customization is nothing but enhancing with leaving the data where in the natural form is, not building with the data sets. And also, ultimate goal is you capture the data. How do you get it all the way to analyze and also react proactively, proactive versus reactive? Before it used all reactive. Now we are actually getting into proactive mode. And then now with AI and machine learning, we call it as predictive mode. Again, we all know how things are in the market. The terminology is a dime a dozen now, basically, but how does it apply to what we do in our day in a life? How we, with all our experience, how we make sure our organizations are going to the next level, how we make sure our technology has been adopted by everyone in the business, and make the business very successful. Because if we are contributing towards the growth of the company, and as we all heard, data is the new fuel, but reality is there is nothing called garbage data, but it's all about the data. If we don't learn from it, we'll become obsolete again. These tools are been evolving over years. We all know, we have seen, instead of having 50 vendors, why don't have one platform to leverage? Not always one platform fits all, but information and data are the two critical words an organization runs on. Information is how and what and when and how is very important for all of us to go from. And eventually, if you have a good data, if you have a good structured or unstructured constructs and labeling and basically feature data where we can go back and look at for, eventually the better will be the AI outcomes will be going forward, because you have to get the data to learn. What if as you're ingesting the data, as you're putting the data, system is already learning and preparing you to the next level? The digital assistance is one thing which HCM has actually leveraged AI, but it's also learning from our prompting. It's also learning for everything. You don't have to spend a lot. We hear a lot about ChatGPT, but eventually the platform already in Oracle, they're already building through OCI platform to have conversational AI, to have, observability. Their observations are gathered, machine learnings are detected, anomalies are been gathered. So these are all could be reportable later for us as the leaders and as the technologists and influencers and evangelists. We just have to look at what potentials we have. Again, being said that, these are all some of the things we would like to share, and we have many more challenges we can share with it, but these are, I want to keep it at level so that we can have, I can leave you guys with a thought leadership and opportunity. You might have heard this many times. Hearing one more time could, from a new perspective, making it more relevant. We hope we are able to communicate the message. Again, this is the last slide. I just want to leave you guys with safe hand that how HCM alone is not enough, but how do we use all the integration platform and services to scale our organization to the next level and be the leader in your own field with your own existing empowerment of the technology and kinds of stuff. And you don't have to start from scratch. You have some already have, I think 40, 50% sometimes, 60% sometimes. Go from there and also align with the best practices. Being said that, I said we would like to take your feedback very positively and like to leverage all your feedback into our future presentations. But again, this is our small attempt to show you guys that the art of possibilities with currently today's just we are targeting on HCM, but there are many more we have done. We are one call away or an email away from there. Being said that, Janice, I'm going to hand it back to you for any questions for the forum to open.
Okay, so anyone, if you have questions, please just pop them in the chat for us, and Pramod will be happy to answer for you. It looks like we may not have any questions today. Pramod, you were very clear.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the time. In case you guys need one, we will share the presentation. You have my contact information in case you need any more details or any. Someone raised a hand. Norman has raised a hand. Janice.
Norman, if you have a question, please just pop it in the chat. I also see Petra with a question. Can you just put that in the chat for us? And then in the chat, we have a link with a survey for today if you want to win a free beer for a year. So go ahead and click on that. All right. Well, thank you so much, Pramod. We really appreciate your webinar today and all the information you shared with our audience.
Thank you very much for all your time, and feel free to contact me in case you need it, and through the OHUG website, and we'll be able to respond to your questions. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you
you all.
so much.
Bye.